And good morning. You're flying the very unfriendly skies with Tironan. Okay, so it is very, very early on Saturday morning. Believe about 5:23 in the morning, and I'm probably about 8 hours late getting into Operation Westwall Attrition. Why? Well, I decided to sleep instead of the game all night, and that seemed to be the wiser choice for me, given that my eyeballs are falling out of my head, and I was pretty darn certain I wouldn't be that coherent on the video.
Attention, you are entering a zone controlled by the enemy.
Now, I am bringing an F2H Banshee with absolutely no upgrades to it. It's the base Banshee, and I need to earn enough money to get an engine or some guns. Either one will be useful. I prefer to have the guns, but they are much more expensive, and the engines will make me a lot faster, which may help too.
Show me what you can do, pilots. Let's roll.
So I'm more than willing to be up here flying today.
Bomber squadron detected. Engage them immediately. All right, and that, kiddies, is how it's done. All right. I despise this aircraft for all sorts of reasons. One, it never truly existed. It was a paper aircraft. Two, it's armed with really, really good guns that never existed. But other than that, you know. Wow. Well, I got somebody unfriendly on my tail. The attacker. What would we do without it? I don't know, but I'd like to find out. Let's get ourselves regened and stop the bitching. Alright. And I happen to know that this is an aircraft that the TA-152, 183, excuse me, is another aircraft that didn't exist. Lord Almighty. Now, I complain about the guns not being all that good, and you have to understand that I come right out of an XF5U that probably had, talking about imaginary aircraft, that one was at least actually built, but with the M39 gun, that was actually built. And part of the problem I have so much with the ME-262 HG series is that everything about it was made up. The predecessor to the M39 was a 213 revolver cannon. Fine gun as far as it's concerned, but it was in development. And if 5 different countries all were working to develop it, and none of them got it out before 6 years of solid development, and that can be argued. Really, it was 8. The U.S. it was better than anything in the U.S. arsenal, so the U.S. put it out as it was, and spent another 2 years developing it while it was being deployed because it wasn't up to their standards. Yet somehow this thing's equipped with a gun that delivers 700 and something damage per second per gun. Per gun. Whatever's behind me is darn fast. And very persistent. Well, another F2H, that explains it, doesn't it? shot him down earlier. I don't think he's forgiven me for it.
Shape up. This is our last chance.
That's the bot in the imaginary vehicle. So anyway, yeah, that vehicle irritates me to a huge extent for a whole series of reasons. One, it was never made it beyond a paper study. The weapons on it, which are so fantastic, never made it beyond an armorer's bench, and would have taken another 8 years to develop correctly. Other than that, nope. And then it's superior to every other aircraft in the fighter in the game, heavy fighter in the game anyway. And it doesn't make any sense to me. You know, immensely irritating to me on multiple reasons. So that's the historian in me coming out. And I was, once upon a time, going to go to college and get my history degree, and then I was told, how much do you know about football? And all history teachers in this area they take history, teach history, but they're really coaches. And so that was like, yeah, okay. Okay, so we destroyed 10 aircraft. We assisted in destroying another 5. We captured 4 sectors. We did almost 3,000 points of damage to aerial targets, which was really good, considering I never touched a bomber. Go over here and take a look at our silver, which is surprisingly low. And we look at the experience, which is good. And we even got some free experience. At least I didn't go into the negatives here. Okay, so, yeah. So that's Invasion, which is nothing more than a normal game with an attrition mode instead of a
instead of the normal scoring system. Folks, you should have a great time with this. This is not Invasion. It's nothing weird. It just stretches the game anywhere. World of Warplanes tends to struggle a little bit. And I'm sure they'll get Invasion mode and some of the other problems taken care of eventually. They just need some work on them. But this is a great mode. If you're not taking advantage of this and all the fun that's being provided, you're making a mistake. Okay? This is a great game. Good fun. And we'll see how we're doing here on the upgrades. I only have 1,800 points left to go get my first engine. Or, conversely, I can hold on another 5 or 6 games and get the cannons. I'll get the cannons regardless. Give me something to look forward to regardless. How I outfitted the aircraft. Alright, I went ahead and got engine tuning 4. I went ahead and got improved aircraft polish. And I got the improved radio sight. And they say radio sight. What this really is a radar ranging gun sight. So when you are setting these fire control system up, the first question and the most obvious question is for a sight is what's the true bearing? Or not bearing, I'm sorry. What's the true distance? Not your perceived distance, not some trigonometrically derived off-bore sighting or trying to put the stadia between wings or any of that stuff. Because of the advances in radar that have been made to this time, it can tell you to the inch how far that aircraft was away. Well, it can read your own, the fire control system can read your own speed. It can measure the rate of change of distance. And the problems start getting pretty simplistic at that point. It's a trigonomic function to figure out the correct lead to the aircraft, where the aircraft will be. Because remember, when you shoot, you're not shooting at where the aircraft is. You'll miss every time, unless he's moving straight away from you or straight towards you. So then it's just a matter of computing the lead of where the aircraft will be, and these sites were very good at doing that. You add to that the improved guns, and what this will do for you in particular, it gives you 15% better accuracy. And we're going to match that up to the fighter, to our pilot, and you see that he gets a 5% reduction in dispersion. Okay, what's dispersion? Well, dispersion is a normal amount of drift that you will see in any gun ever manufactured since the beginning of time. It gets done nothing but go down due to better manufacturing methods, but there is not a gun system on the face of the planet that does not have the same issue. Bullet 1 will never land where Bullet 2 lands, which will never land where Bullet 3 lands, except at extremely short range, or there's a few exceptions, but they're so rare that they get noted on YouTube videos. So you see what's called a grouping of bullets. And for anybody that's merely human, you will see, if you're shooting correctly, a very tight pattern of bullets around your point of aim. What this does is tighten that pattern. Okay? Well, you come down here, and it increases the forward dispersion by another 5%, and it gives you accuracy of firing by 10%. And then when you go to this will give you another 15% to accuracy. Well, now it's starting to add up. It's 25% more accurate. It's 10% less dispersion. But this is only good on maneuvering targets. In other words, it's got to be moving. It won't do you any good in ground attack aircraft. So for God's sakes, don't put one on it if you even could. All right.
The aircraft polish gives you 5% to, 3% to speed and 15% to acceleration in a dive. Now you're still not going to exceed your dive numbers of 683, but you'll get there faster. Engine tuning will give you some more power to get there as well. So what I built is a interceptor, for lack of a better term, and a boom and zoomer, because that's what this is. Time to turn is 14 seconds, and you may notice it is got very leisurely turns. So what you want to do is zoom down on your target, boom out of the position when you're done, and go set up for another target. Now, given the speeds at Tier 9, you can only do that with limited success, which will lead to the better engine, and the faster you go in, the more you're going to be able to pull that off. What the engine will give me will bring me up from 571 to 584 for a plus 13 mile an hour speed, and then the next engine above that will put me 25 miles an hour over the original aircraft, and will put you just shy of the 600 miles an hour, 596, which adds to its boom and zoom roll. That's on this side. But here is the interesting one to me. It switches from the Mark III to the Mark 12 cannon. And the Mark III was just a Hispano, product improved Hispano 404. And I've done a lot of reading on that. And I hate to say it, but the British went to this immediately. The Hispano Sousa 404, and stayed with it throughout the war after some teething problems. The U.S. didn't, and they say it was light striking. They'd have occasional jams and stuff. From what I can tell, the U.S. experience is worse, but not significantly worse. I think the U.S. was just far less tolerant. The U.S. Air Force was just far less, especially the Navy, was far less tolerant of jams. And it wasn't so much jamming as failure to the detonator not going off. In the next version, they went to something called the Mark 12. And what they did here was they said, I'm done with mechanical striking systems. They're not reliable. It's not what we want. And so what they did was they actually redesigned the shell, and I talked about this in the last video, where it was lighter, more aerodynamic shape, and it gives to something called ballistic coefficient. The more that number is, the longer the shell will stay in flight and the less energy it loses while it's in flight. And then they put a larger propellant charge in behind it as well. And so you went up to about 3,300 feet per second. And speed, if I remember correctly, maybe I'm wrong. Let's see here. No, it'd be right around 3,300 feet per second. And you got about 2,700 yards of range out of it and a rate of fire about 600 rounds per minute. Oh, that's nice. Here's the advantage to you. Now you're talking 720 damage per second. And there were aircraft in this last video that would not exist had I had this system in place. That HG-2 on several occasions got away because of I couldn't pile enough damage on quick enough, and somebody interfering when I was on his tail trying to kill him. Okay, so that being the case, you really are going to want that. You're really going to want both the speed mods, both the engine mods, and you're going to want to get this aircraft as fast as you can get it to have success with it. All right, enough about the plane. I'm just trying to get this thing upgraded so we can have a little more effect and start crawling towards Tier 9. What's coming up? XF90. All right, when it comes to altitude, it's comfortable at 10,000 feet. Starts off at, it's going to be right at 714 miles per hour. And it's marking 6 Mark 12s. Yeah, God almighty. Can't imagine what that'd be like. Anyway, you're easily talking over 1,000 damage per second. Going to be pretty brutal. But your average time to turn goes down to 17 seconds, which is also pretty brutal. It'll be interesting aircraft to fly. I saw them, unfortunately, during invasion. Man, they talk about if they can get enough range to get around you and come on back, it's all over about the shouting if they get to line up on you good. So, very much in the line of fighters of the day. And that's going to wrap this one up. I'm running out of things to talk about, so it's time to shut up and go home. All right, folks, I do hope that you had a great time with Westwall. I want to wish you the very best. I want to thank you for watching the video, and please remember to like and subscribe. Y'all have a good day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.